Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and today is Monday, the 26th of September. Oh man, is it a Monday? Let me tell you. I had a phone call just before the stream. I wasn't expecting a phone call, a Teams call, I guess, voice call, whatever they're called. Anyway, I got called. And so I needed to respond to that. It was the project lead, since we are back to being able to work on the project again, which I am super excited about. I love working on this project. It's been a blast. There are a lot of miscommunications going on though, and it kind of feels like I'm caught between the client and the current existing team that's working on the main product. So again, what my role currently is that I am implementing a UI redesign for an existing product. And right now we're working on integrating my sketch, my mockup, my everything that I got to show the client to say, yes, this is where we're going with it. And now I am pulling it into the main product. And there's a lot of weird workflows that um, aren't quite easy to follow. So I'm getting more information on that. And there is another approach that they want me to take. Gosh, words. I'm trying to find cordial words too. Politic words, you know? So, anyway, that's where I am with that. I have everything else set up. So, hello to everyone. I hope you're having a great day so far. I wonder if I actually updated my message. Hey, Stream Elements. Yes, yes, I did. Cool. I got the day number updated. I got I removed the community day stuff. I can close this. And what desktop are you currently looking at? Properties. The right desktop. All right, so let's go to the desktop screen. So we've been working on building up this add method for our generic transactions. So a transaction, again, in this application is a financial transaction. And so what we've been trying to do over the past week or two, I can't remember how long it's been a long time, is writing tests for this implementation of just the transaction entry service, which we've only been touching the add transaction entry service. And the tests that we have written business logic. Nope, this one. Looks like this very first one, and we've gone through a few iterations of this. Hopefully we're really close to finding a pattern that we can follow for all of our tests, where we set up a mock DB context factory, but the DB context itself is going to be an in-memory DB that we set up like this, and then for the particular test, we seed it however we need to seed it. I wonder if, because this is using context, I wonder if we actually have seeded account types, for example. I'd be really curious to find out. So let's debug this test real quick and see if when we create this in-memory database, if it actually runs the seed method as part of the migration. Not even the migration, as part of the setup, the on-model creating. Debug. Man, And because I got that call, I didn't have time to run upstairs and refill my water bottle. So as soon as we find this out, as soon as we determine, oh, I should have put two lists. As soon as we determine whether or not we have count types, Microsoft SQL Server Data Tools. What? Just hit this breakpoint. It'll be fine. Just hit the breakpoint. Oh my goodness, I don't care. Okay, good. Pasta. Let's see if we can enumerate this without needing to .toList and restart it. Dang it. Maybe this is actually telling me that we don't have anything in the database context for account types. Let's pick something else, like one of our actual lookup tables, such as in deposit raisins, the one that we're actually using for this. And then let's toList it so that we can get the materialized list of deposit raisins. All right, and while this is trying to rebuild again, I'm going to run upstairs and grab some water. And I shall be right back. I am back. Okay, so what did we get? 0. So no, we don't get the seeding as part of our DB context, but we do see that we aren't getting errors when trying to query the DB, which means that it's getting created. So I wonder if we need to do something like run the migration somehow. I don't even think it's run migration. Because if we look at the DB context, the seed happens right here during model builder. Which should be happening during the on model creating. Otherwise, I haven't, well, then again, the in-memory database might not just honor constraint checking. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at this. It is trying to seed it. And so here's our accounts. Oh, is it just because I didn't actually have any seeded deposit reasons? So I really should have used account type that whole time. Let's try again. That was dumb. Forgive me. Close you. Are you going to go away? Close you. Account types. Try again. Control RT. Wow, that was faster. Okay, so we have 0. What? That's really confusing. Context. It's very confusing. We saw it go here, and in seed, we have account type with seed data, checking, savings, credit card, cash. And we saw it hit this actual case. Didn't we? Yes. And so when it returns this, it puts that in my model builder and it says that my lookup account type has data, and we just got back a bunch of data. Oh man, what are those extra line breaks? And that was right here too. So I wonder if I do it again, the second time I do it, account types would have, nope. I don't know. So it just kind of looks like seed data doesn't really happen on in-memory database, even though we're hitting the code for it. Hmm. Don't know. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that too much. At the moment, we don't need this. So we'll just go ahead and run this test again. Make sure that it passes. And that would be this one here. Yep. So the test is definitely passing. We have a whole bunch of asserts. Can we make the test fail? I have way too much stuff open. We're gonna have to go back down to like 0 soon. Transaction entry service on the server. So the way that we can make this test fail is to not save changes, not add it, and survey says, ooh, Can I push the play button up here? So we have a failure that is the add deposit is line 31, probably where I'm checking to make sure that the found deposit with that ID is not null, or found transaction, I guess. Hello, 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 Irish John Games. You're in like 12 places at once. Really good to see you midday. You were looking well. Still have all of your wits and your energy about you that early in the day. Hadn't been beat down, except you're already getting asked about the release date, and it's like, that's just not, that's rude. Just don't do that. You know? I'll get rid of this. It's fine. I'm well used to it at this stage. Yeah. Whoa, that music was weird. It sounded like it was way over there. Sharpshooter. I've been getting my butt handed to me lately. Did you see how razors run? Of course you did. You were calling it too. He destroyed me. But again, I like it when I can play hard because, like, I don't know. It's such a paradox with me where I like to play to the best of my ability and I want to play to win, but then I feel bad if I actually win, especially if it happens repeatedly. And it's like, I feel bad, but I also can't not play to win. You know? It's weird. It's weird. So that's why I like it when I come in second place, because that means that I tried really, really hard. Someone else played just that much better than me, and I have growth, and I love it. I love it. I can't even find what I'm trying to get to. Okay, so I can uncomment these, and now our test should pass. Literally everyone who has played has won at least one game bar. Bar maybe three people. Sorry, one game bar. Plus, don't forget public constable Oprah mode equals true. What? Everybody's a winner? Is that what Oprah mode is? No, no one left behind. I did miss Oprah mode. Was that over the weekend? Because I saw you go live over the weekend, but I was, of course, hanging out with my wife, like I do. You know, as you do. The winner gets a bonus. Everyone gets points. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did hear when you were explaining that the winner gets points times 10, and then everyone else gets points times 2, 2, 4, 4, 4. I think is what you said. Cool. Yeah, I saw a ton of features, a ton of changes made. Ooh, and a hair that is inside of my shirt tickling my chest. I'm gonna stick my hand up my shirt for a minute. Safe for work, I promise. Okay, we did it. We have a real for real test. We can get rid of this now. Get all deposits returns all deposits. Get all payments returns all payments. Right. We're not doing that because this one is only handling deposits. So no payments, no transfers. The only test that we have is get all deposits returns all deposits. Okay, so this is going to be our initial setup DB context factory. This is going to happen all the time. And because we're calling mock like this, yes, then we should be able to do this every time, right? There might be an issue with that though. If this is the same DB context factory for every, for every one of these, for every test, this is not transaction details. This is, yeah, we don't get transaction details anymore. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Oh yeah. Thank you, Stream Elements. Stream Elements says, make sure to check out Captain Commerce the next time he streams. Most likely going to be tonight unless something comes up where he is not able to stream tonight. Okay, the thing that we can definitely get for free is this thing. So we can use the same deposit entry view model validator. And we'll set that up in the constructor. And we'll create a private read only. Private read only. I've got it. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, it's almost like what I need to do is make an instance of this per test, which kind of means that I'm repeating the same code in each one. And every time that I do mock of, it's actually getting pulled up to the base class and adding it to my mock there. Man. And the problem is that this db context factory dot setup is going to return the same db context if I pull this up. So one thing that I can do for sure is pull up my DB context options builder, and we can just make it static so that I only set it once and then I get it repeatedly. Dang it, that's the same name as the class. Man context options is what I'll call it. So let's pull that up here. That's going to be a private static DB context options of man context. We are calling it man context options. And actually, I'm going to pull this into my data helper now that I think of it, because we only need to write this once. So yeah, this goes into my data helper. And so this will be public, and it'll be a get only, so that it gets set once, and then it will always return the same options. Hello, data mock helpers. Mock data helpers. Let's rename the file so that it matches the class. Ops. Dot context options. No. Okay, that's better. And we'll move you back some. Great. I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday morning. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we don't have to do this multiple times, and we also don't have to put it in a variable either. So the hard one is getting our DB context. Is that a hard one? I don't think so. What if, and this is a big what if, but what if we can get a new context as every single time we request it from here, we'll give back a new man context with man context options. And what that means is the context that is being used and returned by this thing here, by the DB context factory, is always going to be a new context. Oops, not that. Not that. Capital mock data helpers dot man context. Then what we can do for the method is have it be our DB context factory, DB connex factory. Connex dot object Thank you, President Not Sure. Oh, that was great. All right, and then we'll actually get the DB context that this thing was supposed to create. And that way we have the same context. Oh man, that's not going to work. because when this thing is called in the actual method that we're testing, so in here, damn, we are going to get back a DB context, a new DB context. Sorry, not there. Here, we're going to get back a new DB context. And we still have the, I mean, I am removing code, which is good. So it's almost like I need to do it this way instead. Dang. Yeah, so that would work. The problem is that I'm still using the same DB context factory if I pull this thing up. No, not even if I pull this thing up. It's just what I'm going to get. Because mock of is from the base class, not part of mock. So maybe we just use regular mock for this. Not be used like a method. New mock. Oh my goodness. And then everything else should still be set up. That way, this DB context factory is isolated from the DB context factory in any of the other methods. New mock is way better than old mock, says Tyron. Hi, Tyron. And hello, Yeti Mus. Yeti Moose. Mooses. Mises. It is going well. I am starting to understand this more and more as we keep doing this. So I have almost completely gotten away from using, oh man, that kind of makes me sad. But I kind of got away from using MKB's approach. Gosh, I'm glad you aren't understanding it less and less as you keep doing it. Well, the alternative is not understanding it any better than I did before. Yeah. So that just completely gets rid of, oh, you're just playing with my t-shirt. Yeah, I'm terrible at sarcasm, he says sarcastically. Hello, Jim. Happy Monday to you as well. Yenima says, do you have a standing desk? Yes, I do. Which is it? It is an autonomous L-shaped. I can't tell you the actual model because I don't really know what the model is, but it's autonomous standing desk L. And it looks like this, except that the short it doesn't look like that. Maybe it, no. It's a completely matte black desktop. Yeah, it looks like this. Oh my goodness. Just show me that picture. Okay. It looks like this, except longer. Longer and whiter. Did I do any happy roaring sounds today? Yet today. No, I have not, unfortunately. It would have been nice to, but like I was excited about today. I was really, really happy about that. Um, that I was able to get back onto the project onto the client project. So the way that the place that I work at works is we're a consulting firm, pretty big in the US, and we have a whole bunch of different clients that we do projects for. And so I am on a client project where I get to use Blazor and I get to use Maui and I get to do just fun all day long. So anyway, that particular client, because it was close to the end of the year, they needed to work their finances, work magic on their finances to make everything balance out. So they had all of their contracts suspended for 2 weeks in July, June or July. I think it might have been June. Anyway, 2 weeks in one of those 2 months, either June or July, and then 2 weeks this month, which was the past 2 weeks. And so today is my first day back working on the project, and I was really excited about that. But then just before the stream, I got a call from the project lead, and there were just some miscommunications that happened, and it was like, oh my goodness. And then they're like, well, we need to get a better handle on the meetings. I really don't want the meetings to be all over the place. I would like one consolidated meeting. We can't have like one meeting with the whole team and then one meeting with just you and then have different things said at every meeting. So I want to control that more. And it's like, okay, sure, why not? And then he's like, I also want to go in this direction. And I'm like, well, here are the things that I'm currently working on for the project. So as soon as I get done with those, I can explore those. And I was trying to be politic. And yeah, it's good to have a break from regular projects from time to time, paid PD time. Is the topping with cherries. I don't like taking time off, but the personal development part of it that you're talking about, very, very nice. So I was, if you guys remember, the first week of this most recent work stoppage, I was studying for the certification exam, the AZ-204, and then I took the exam on 2 Sundays ago, passed it. It was awesome. And then the week after, I picked up a Unity course, like the very, very, very basics of Unity through the work sponsored training programs, which has a Coursera account, has a Pluralsight account, has a Udemy account. So we have access to all of these trainings, and then of course specific trainings for that are internal to us. So Capgemini recently partnered with Unity, so we get some extra trainings from Unity, which is so cool. So I'm at the very, very beginnings of learning Unity development. I've already done a ton of tutorials and playing around with it and trying to figure out how Unity works, getting a good workflow. And I just wanted to start over from scratch. Is where I'm trying to go with that. And so I did. And so I'll be doing that on my personal time now because I am back to work for the client and I am working on only their project during work hours. But I'm glad that I have that as a resource and that I did get started because that's just going to keep me going. So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where I'm at. That's what's going on with me. I hope you're doing well. So yeah, I'm thinking of finding out if I can pull this up, not that, this. Pull this up and get back the DB context and the DB context factory. Hello, Decker Pleb. Who says howdy, bros and sisters? Aniki. You could just call me OG-san. Old man. Not Oji-san. Oji-san. Oji-san is like a term that they use in Japan to refer to male strangers that they don't know that's older than them. And then Oji-san or Sofu, if it's your, well, Sofu is specifically grandfather. But I think Oji-san is also grandfather. But it's also referring to older, old man, stranger. Who are you calling Gramps? Yeah, it's like saying Gramps. All right, Jim, thank you so much for being here and talking. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm actually going to get stuff done. We did get some stuff done. We cleaned up this test. It looks clean to me. The problem is I am going to have a lot of repeated code for the arrange step. And I want to know if I can put all of this in a separate method and get back the context and the DB context factory and apparently the cancellation token source. I don't think I'd be able to do the cancellation token source like this because there's this using, and if I pulled this out into a separate method, then the cancellation token would be disposed before I get to use it down here. Cancellation rules. Wait, cancellation rules? It's hard to read that, President. I don't know where to put the emphasis. Yeah, I'm just going to extract this and see what will happen if I try to extract this to a method. I don't like using out variables. Prepare DB context. So I'm going to have a thing called prepare DB context, but instead of passing in two out variables, I am going to only pass in the DB context. Then I am going to ask for a tuple, which I think I have to do. No, I can do it like this, right? And then I go here, and then instead of, again, having these as out variables, I will just return a tuple. Slap var on these two, and then return. Oops, I said return a tuple. Tuple of DB context factory context. And what we'll do is we'll just deconstruct it here on the receiving side. Oh, I know what's happening. They're declared right here. Okay. I was like, why am I still getting errors? So we're just deconstructing the return from a tuple into these two variables, even though I could just take it back as a full tuple. But yeah, you don't need to dispose the cancellation token source unless you use it a certain way. Yeah, it's still good practice, though, to dispose it. Any resources that you have. Just good practice to dispose of everything all the time, no matter what. All right, so I'm going to take this, move it into my mock data helpers. Somewhere. Make it public. Ill. And this will be mock data helpers dot. Okay. So that removes a lot from our arrange. The other thing that we could do is prepare our service under test, aka system under test. Because the only thing really that we would be doing in our arrange step for each of these tests, no matter what kind of test it is in this particular set of tests, I'm going to have a new system under test that takes in the DB context factory and the validator. So maybe we can return that as well. And we'll call this, once again, prepare service under test. And then the first thing that we'll do is have these two come from our mock data mock data helpers prepare DB context factory, and then our new service, and this is actually CT. Was it not? Well, goodness, I've already forgotten. How could I already forget? It's prepared DB because it's prepared DB context, not DB context factory. Then sit, and then return DB context factory, context soot. And now we have all three of them. Oh, and then we can tell it what our actual return type is, which is these two. With a transaction this. Impasta. Okay, so that should give me everything that I need for this. Sut is already now declared. And once again, this is just cleaning up and minimizing the amount of code in each test. Then we're preparing the new record to be added. All right, so I'm going to move this up, up, down, maybe up. Region helpers. And this is something I wasn't used to doing, which is putting the label on my end region, but I'm starting to like it. The way that I picked it up was I started using the CodeMade extension. And when you do the cleanup from CodeMade, it adds the labels to end region. And of course, there are a lot of people that just don't like regions, but I like them. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. Ooh, thank you so much, Sakentian, who already knows me as 11 Lion. Do we know you? How do you already know me as 11 Lion? Unless you just came up with that on your own. That's pretty impressive. So that is one of the nicknames that more recently caught on. So welcome in. Happy Monday to you. And I hope you're having a fantastic start of your week. Unless it's somewhere in the middle of your week, if you have like an offset week, then I still hope you're having a great day so far. I don't want to bombard you with questions, but if you feel like introducing yourself, I'm interested in knowing how you are, what you do. But of course, there is absolutely no requirement. Today is the 26th. Cool. All right. So we finished cleaning this up. Now the question is, can I pull this up even further? No. So it really is just two steps aside from creating the cancellation token source that's going to get disposed at the end of the test. And the two steps are get the DB context and service under test, which is all one big step split up into two steps, split up into the first step of those split up into one step. And then split up into two steps. And then create the view model for the thing that we want to test adding, perform the actual method to add in the act, and then make our functional assertions. Cool. So Sakentian says, I code random stuff that I never end up finishing because my self-confidence is lower than the price of Bitcoin. Is that what BTC is? I'm sorry, I'm not in the know. I'm one of those people that's out of touch. Too out of touch to touch you. It's Bitcoin. But are you enjoying yourself? Do you have fun? And if you need self-confidence, I'm here for you. One of my favorite things in the entire world is encouraging anyone who is interested in development, no matter what your skill level is, to continue with it so long as you get something out of it. I always say enjoy, but that's my word for me. That's what I get out of it: enjoyment, fulfillment. But you might not be looking for joy. You might be looking for challenge. You might be looking for stress and frustration. Who knows? So whatever it is that you get out of it, I have around 120 unfinished projects. Then I'm here to encourage you to continue. Oh, don't worry about it. I can read. Actually, I can't read. I'm terrible at reading. What did you misspell? I don't see anything misspelled. You put an extra A? Oh, I have around about 120 because you read it in your head. You said 120, and then you put 120 for 120. I'm okay with this. But anyway, you're welcome here. Bring whatever you have with you. And of course, if there's ever anything that you want to talk about from your projects, if you just want to show off your partial projects, if you want to ask questions about how to get through some stuff in your projects, if you want to see if there's anyone that wants to help you finish a project, if you ever feel like finishing a project, then hop onto our Discord. Join us there. We have channels for all of it, for asking for help, for giving help. If you're someone that is knowledgeable enough to provide assistance to anyone else that asks questions, including me, this is the place for you as well. There's a portfolio slash show off slash whatever. I don't find showing off to be a negative thing, so I hope you don't read that as a negative connotation and you use it. Use it. You should be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you already for being here and for talking. Oh, good times. Okay, so hopefully this arrange step, sorry, is going to be good enough for setting up the database. You know what? I could probably, since these will be actual transaction entities, and this will have deposits generated for them. Now that I've changed out the database structure so that a deposit is the thing that carries the amount and not a transaction detail. You're here because you're hella sick. Oh no. Is it the COVID's? I hope not. If it is, then I hope for a speedy recovery. If it's flu, if it's cold, if it's cough, still hoping for a speedy recovery. I'll definitely send some energy. All right, so I am going to do context.transactions.add range async, which we can do asynchronously, passing in the transaction. So all of this stuff is in the arrange, where the only thing that I'm trying to do is populate the database with some records so that when we get the records here in our service under test with the cancellation token. Oh no. No, this is fine. I just need to name it CT. That we can test that what this gives us back is the ViewModel version of all of these transactions that we just created. And Coding Nerd Fletch, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome into the Daily Code Fun. I guess if you two haven't been lurking and you're not sure what we're doing, I have been working on a financial management tracker application as part of a stream project. I used to stream my entire workday back when I could. Then I got a new job back in May. I keep forgetting what the day is. So since then, I've been kind of lost in what I'm doing in the stream. So I finally ended up picking the financial management tracker. You can find information about it here, provided I can type. Explosive diarrhea, stomach pain, and a headache. That's still pretty bad though. So still gonna send some healing vibes your direction, if that's okay with you. If you accept them, you can totally just reject them or be like, what is he even talking about? It doesn't matter. So the financial management tracker application is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been keeping track of my own personal finances using Access since about 2000 and early 2000s. And so it's like, it's time that I've finally put this into a .NET application. It's currently using a SQL Server backend. So, I mean, it's not even using Access as the database. It's just using Access to connect to this SQL Server database and provide the UI for entering transactions. So I'm like, why not just go ahead and take that into .NET? So that's what we're doing. And I also wanted a project where we could learn together and you could teach me, I could teach you, you know, just that's how everything works for me. We all give to each other and take from each other. Microsoft application using Microsoft Java on Microsoft operating system. What? Did I miss a thing? Microsoft Java. So that's what this application is. The things that I want to get from this are an increase in skill in doing the actual design process. So when we created the project, we came up with some functional requirements that we want the application to be able to do. Then we came up with a few designs on Figma. Actually, we didn't go to Figma next. We went to Whiteboard next. And I'm showing this often because I've been stalling because I don't like doing tests. Okay, so I sketched out what my normal project structure is in 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, which is this diagram here. I've shown it a few times, so you can always go back in the YouTube videos. I post all of my streams to YouTube, unedited, but I talked through what this structure is multiple times if you're interested in that. Then we came up with some entities that our database is going to have, sketched out the diagram for our database relationships, an ER diagram, sketched out a few UI pages, and just brainstorming, kind of sketching out, going off of like what my current data entry forms look like. Then I created some sketches in Figma. So this is what I want to get better at, is creating these actual mock-ups of what the UI could look like. And so that's what this is. Picking some colors for color theming. Yeah, and running with that. So the part that I am going to say that I'm good at, even though good is subjective, is taking a design like this and turning it into an actual Blazor application. Nope, fine man. There it is. Done and watch. So we took all of those designs that we put up here, and we sketched out the pages and the data entry forms, the landing page, some of the functionality, but not all of it. And we did the UI work. So my current job is to take Figma designs, do Blazor UI out of them with all of the functionality, all of the communication with the backend, API calls, WebSockets, Signal R connections, all of it. And so that's what this is. This is the landing page. I'm thinking of, we're not done applying the design, but I'm thinking of having stuff like squishing this thing into the middle, closer to the middle with a maxed width, and of course changing the content in there, changing the content in these, maybe having an icon on those. And then here is our first data entry page, which is the payments data entry. Here's deposits, and here are transfers. So this tab structure here, having something in this top bar where you can navigate around. Yeah, so we just filled in all of this kind of in a sketch kind of way with a little bit of brainstorming for getting a table in here that has sortable columns for a filter drop down type of thing. And so we're going to add to this as we go along. But the next thing that we started on was, since we've filled in, since we created all of these data entry components so that we can actually interact with the application, we started working on the backend services. And that's where I wanted to work on my second new skill, something that I am very not familiar with and I'm getting better at, which is test-driven development. Sorry, this is my work phone, so I need to be on top of this, even though it's all spam at the moment. Good grief, guys. It's not really spam, it's just there are certain events going on that I'm not really interested in participating in. That's okay. So anyway, so yeah, doing test-driven development for all of our backend services. I want to do test-driven development throughout the entire application development lifecycle, but right now I'm just starting with only the backend services so that I can get used to it and pick up some tips and tricks like doing an in-memory database and how to do dependency injection, which is essentially you just create a new class and provide your own implementations. New. Where's my, oh yeah, I moved it. Hello, Scott. It is going really well. I don't know if you remember what this test class used to look like, but it is a million times cleaner and you can actually read the test to see what it's trying to do. And so I'm getting started on this second test because actually before I continue too far with that second test, updated add test, or I guess refactored. Add test to pool DB context preparation to extract DB context preparation and service under test out. Okay. Local commit for now, but the other thing was I showed you the GitHub repo and hiccups, but I have been putting this in an open source repo that you can visit anytime you want. At the moment, like you can do issues and you can do pull requests, but I kind of want to get through the first iteration of it before we start going into that, because number 3 thing would be repo management for an open source solution. Yeah, and I'm not ready for that yet. Like, I have a couple of issues that were in here. Ah, so this is from MKB, which you'll see him in here as the real MKB, where he gave me this cool setup for being able to rig up um, a test class to the mocking stuff. And I thought it was a cool approach at first, but then it started to get kind of unwieldy to manage. But I think I'll be able to use it for my non-generic services. Like this is a generic service, and I don't really do generic services, but all three of these transaction types, so a deposit, a transfer, and a payment, follow essentially the same rules. They just affect a deposit, a transfer, and a payment table instead of their just one table. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay, so the other thing that I need in here is to go from my transactions list here to transaction view models. And I was thinking about this, but one of my favorite things to do, I like that phrase apparently, is to have an extension method. That's the model validator. Nice try. Let's extract this because you don't belong there. Nope, not base class. Move it to its own file. May as well move you to your own file. Okay. I like to have extension methods for going from my entity type to a view model. A lot of people use, or not a lot of people, I don't know if it's a lot of people or not. There are people that use AutoMapper, and I have used AutoMapper as well, and I do like it. And I like that you can use generics to go from one to the other. So like even in here, I could use AutoMapper to just have an extensions directly on the transaction view model itself. Or I guess more on this, that will be able to map from the concrete type to the view model version. Sorry, from the view model concrete type to the entity version. But I prefer, oh, I wonder if I could do that. No, that would be hard. um, yeah, I'm going to keep it simple for myself. So I will have public static extension methods for going from my deposit entity and we'll call it to entity model. Deposit.transaction. You know, that would be cool. Going from the deposit to the transaction. But in most cases, we will have the transaction. So those two need to get switched. Dang. Transaction. and I'll call it deposit trans so that I can get all of my errors up front. Okay, question mark, question mark. Okay, so there are a couple things that we can do right off the bat, which are if deposit trans is not a deposit, then we will return null. Else, we'll return a new deposit transaction, a new deposit entry view model by flattening the deposit or the transaction. Oh my gosh, the transaction entry to the view model. And I pushed Control W on accident when I tried to hit Control S. Go. Okay, we're good. Then the other way is going from a deposit entry view model to a to a transaction. Cool. And then that one doesn't get a check because we know that it's going to be a deposit no matter what, but this is going to be a new transaction. And I think we might already have this in our implementation of the transaction entry service. Wrong one. On the server, this one. Oops, that was get. Whatever, it's right here. We'll go this, pasta, ampersand then, these two. Oops, actually, be this, be pasta. There we go. Now we get rid of that, and you two are deposits, deposits. Cool. And because I'm me, I like to use expressions as opposed to method bodies when the only thing it does is returns. Control that. And because .NET 6, actually because C#, whatever version of C#, we can just use the new keyword like this and it'll know that we want to return a new transaction. We can't do it up here because we don't have, it's letting us. It's going to say we don't know what each side of this if is, but it's okay with that. Sure. Man, I don't know. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. Loudness. Go here. Cool. Okay, so we have a view model and we have a so deposit view model. Oh, whoops, whatever. You are an iTransaction data entry model. Dang. And that's it. You know, it would be fun I am using way too many generics in this. This is gonna be, oh man, I'm starting to feel bad about these generics. Um, I kind of want this. Public static class. No, not the transaction service. The actual view model. Transaction view model. Transaction this. Extensions. Which we can't really do here, but that's okay, we'll extract it. Oh, I can't even write it here, can I? Maybe I can. If I do this, oh, no, this is going to be fine. Public static transaction. Nope, just transaction. To entity model. This iTransaction view model. Okay, so we are essentially writing this thing. Cool. Model. The question is, will I actually see this extension method on my deposit entry view model? Or would I first have to cast it to an iTransaction view model? So like this line would turn into as oops, other way around. Data entry. Well, first let's see if we can get it off of data entry view model to entity model. We can directly. I don't need to cast it. And that gets rid of all that. Ooh. Oh, and this. That's cool. I love deleting code. All right, let's see if this change that we just made breaks our test. Why can't I see my test up here? I've already lost where our tests. This is our probably in a project called tests, which would be down here alphabetically. All right, are you still passing test? Running, 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 running. It is still passing. Oh, yay. Awesome. So that cleans that up. So now we have a way to get from our view model to a database entity. Now let's see if we can write the way to get back the other direction. Public static. Yes. To view model this transaction. What are you giving me for a suggestion? Do you know what I want to do? It doesn't know what I want to do. Dang it. I know you're smart enough to figure this out. You could do it, Copilot. I'm too lazy. All right. What we do is we determine whether we are a deposit, a transfer, or a piece of Cookie Monster. So first thing that, dang it. Transaction. Yeah, let's start with this. Let's declare a transaction data entry view model. Set it to null forgiveness operator default, because we know that when we exit this thing, this model is going to have to turn into one of the data entry types. Oh, you're close. Okay, so do I actually have, no, I don't. Because what I was going to ask is, do I actually have an example of me going from a transaction, oh, except that we just wrote it, from a transaction entity from our database to one of these view models. And that's what we started writing down here. That's what I was wanting to write for this. Oh, wait, which is in our deposit transaction data entry view model. Deposit, deposit. I got this. I'm so blind. I know we had you open. There's our payment entry view model. Did I somehow close the deposit entry view model? I think I closed the deposit entry view model. But it's here. To entity model. Yeah, so we're going from transaction to the this. Okay, switch. We can't switch on anything in particular. The only thing we have are some flags inside of our transaction entity that help us understand, is this a deposit, a payment, or a transfer? But this is going to essentially tightly couple our application's implementations of the view models with the database entities. I'm not super angry at that, because if you're going to use this library, you're going to take everything that's in here. So I don't think that's a bad idea. So if model dot is deposit, then our view model equals new So I will give you the reason that I am doing that. Exactly, exactly. And that is the case that I want. So I want it to give me an exception if this fails. I don't want a null reference exception. I want, yeah, let me finish writing this out and then we'll see if it makes sense to you. And if it doesn't make sense to you and you have a good case for me not doing it this way, I'm all ears. Other than throwing exceptions is generally a bad idea. I'll fix that in a minute. Oh, good. It gave me that. Else, throw new not implemented exception. That's exactly what I want. So if I'm trying to go from a transaction that is not, oh, yeah, that is not one of these. It is not a deposit or a payment or a transfer. I think it's going to complain all the way down here at the bottom. Oh. I still think it might. I still think it's going to complain that I am not setting a value for ViewModel by the time we get here in all cases. But Tyron is saying that because I have this catch-all block here, then it knows it's not going to get here unless it has either assigned ViewModel to one of these or thrown an exception. Perfect. All right. So I like your reasoning. That's weird. Why can I set that one? Oh, because I am setting it up there. Okay. That was weird. Payee value text. Yes. Let the compiler do the work. So it's funny because the course the course that I'm taking, that Unity one that I talked about earlier, the instructor is a computer science instructor, and you know how opinionated computer scientists that are in the education realm can be. And so he's like, to me, the reason that you would do something like use var is because you're lazy and you don't know what the actual type is. And so you're letting the compiler figure it out for you. So for this course, I want you to always declare your data type. So that you can get into the practice of knowing what you're going to get back. It's like, okay, sure. I mean, yeah, for learning purposes, but in practice, the compiler is going to be smarter than you. You might think it's supposed to return a double when really it's just going to give you back a float because it wants the smaller data type or whatever. Maybe you do want to control it all the time. Who knows? Who cares? Ignorance till apathy des. Oh no. Oh no. Does my view model for payment entry not have a amount? No, it has line items. It has line items. Um, I wonder if I should put the line items with the payment. Now that I have put the amounts inside of the specific um, entity, So for example, like what I was thinking I was going to do and what I do in my current Access database is my transaction has this transaction details list. And transaction details would be for every single transaction type, whether it's a deposit, a payment, or a transfer. And what I would do is I would say for my transaction detail, the line item type for a transfer and a deposit is subtotal. But that means that I've hard-coded subtotal as a value in my transaction, in my line item types table, so that it's always going to be there, and I'm depending on that value being there. But what I did for this version of it is I took amount that would normally go inside of my line item, one line item for a transaction that's a deposit, one line item for a transaction that's a transfer, and then as many line items as we want for a payment, because you have sales tax, service fee, blah, 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 blah. Is I took that amount and put it directly into my deposit and my transfer. So I'm wondering if this transaction details, since it only applies to payments, now belongs only in payments. Yeah, I think the answer is yes. So that's what I'm going to do. Which means that I probably want to update my DB diagram. Although I haven't been updating it really. So we'll just do it as a, what's the word? Migration. You there. This goes away now. You've been replaced. Yeah, and we're in here. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna just comment this out. We will push these changes to our local commit for added conversion from entity to the view model and vice versa. Added extensions. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of database work. If you haven't seen the Entity Framework, we did talk about it quite a bit on Friday with a, was it Friday? I'm pretty sure it was Friday, with a database migration. And what migrations are ways for you to track your database changes using code. So for us, we have this migrations project that is just a console application by this point that uses the web SDK that we have referencing our database context so that when we do a migration on this project, it's able to see what the database looks like, connect to the actual database, find out what the latest migration was that got pushed to it, and you'll see what a migration is shortly. And then find out whether it needs to do an upgrade or not, whether the database is up to date or not. The other thing we get with a migration is a snapshot of what the database should currently look like, so that when we add a new migration, it'll find the diff between this and the actual new set of models or entities or properties or whatever we changed, and then create this migration. So then a migration itself is a set of instructions for going from the previous migration to the current migration. And what this will do is it will generate SQL that it will run against the database that you're pointing to from the project that you're doing the migration on. I hope that made sense. So the thing that we said we're going to do is move the transaction details into payment. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and rename it to payment detail. And now this here is going to be related back to one payment record. And I'm using the rename refactor because I'm pretty sure that I already wrote a service, or maybe not a service, but an example of generating a new transaction with transaction detail. For example, here. And so you can see that I renamed the class from transaction detail to payment detail, even though the property here is still transaction details. But that's going to be fine. We'll come back and update this after we're done with the database work. Because once again, we're moving that transaction details out of here. The Boxy Bear is here. Oh, that is an awesome little dogga. Check out this dog emote. I mean, those of you in Twitch chat can see it. Little snow wolf looking dogga. Kawaii. Hello, the Boxy Bear. Welcome to the Daily Code Fun. We're just doing an entity framework code first change. Once again, we're going to call this payment details, plural, and we're going to move it up into the payment class. And there we go. So that is all it takes to move our foreign key relationship. And you wouldn't want to do this with an active database because you're going to be dropping foreign keys. The foreign key column is going to get dropped. Speaking of, did I bring over the foreign key column, which is now going to be called payment ID? Yes, thank you for remembering. And also getting rid of, oh no, not even getting rid of. Yeah, so you would essentially drop that foreign key column and then create a new one, which means you lose all of the relationship data. So you would probably want to do this migration still, but then customize it with custom SQL so that you don't lose your relationship information with the existing transaction and the payments and the cookies and stuff. But luckily for us, our database is empty, so we don't have to worry about that at all. Boxy Bear says, kind of wish there was a better way of handling nullables with Entity Framework instead of default. There is. And hello, Ladrixius. Welcome into the Daily Code Fun. So are you talking about maybe when you are putting your DB set in here? Because what you should be able to do is instead of using the equals default to make it not nullable, you could arrows set of, and this would be just as good. I think we found that there was a little bit of like minor delay doing it this way. But then again, there might not be because this is virtual, so it could get overwritten by the actual get set. But if you're just talking about default in general on POCOs, so each of my entities are POCOs, then having this string that is not null equal default bang. So in general, so it's not just entity framework. It is this concept here for handling nullable types or nullable reference exceptions. Bang! So Ladrixius is saying, I'm learning Python, so now I'm training my logic for a long time. Do you think that I'm doing it right? That's not enough information for me to be able to give you an opinion on, because I don't really understand. So maybe you're not learning. You finished learning Python, and now you're training your logic for a long time. Yeah, I don't know what that last part of your statement means. You worked through learning the language itself first, and now you're working on problem solving and being able to use the language, I think, maybe, perhaps, possibly. No, you're okay. Um, please don't ever apologize for your English not being. Don't feel like you have to apologize to me for that, for your English not being your first language. Your first language is your first language, and you should not have to apologize for English not being your first language. The end. I just I try hard to decipher. I'm training my English to make my communication better. Totally okay. So just, I think you can give me a yes or no if you um, believe that I am on the right train of thought for what you're trying to say, which is that you finished learning Python and now you are just practicing it and working on your logic skills using Python. Then yes, absolutely. Learning any programming language, the rudiments of a programming language first, and then using that, whatever your programming language is that you decided to go with, to solve problems and to come up with creative solutions is one of my favorite things to do or say or recommend. So yeah, I think that that's a great approach. Absolutely. And then the Boxy Bear said, just feel it could get dangerous when working with these classes in the front end, especially creating objects. The thing that should happen, like for me specifically, my front end shouldn't really care about the models themselves. My front end will only be using view models. My service layer that turns my database objects into view models that the front end works with, that's where I would need to take extra care to make sure I am populating these. But the thing is that these nullable type should match the database nullability as well. So if I have in here that my string or my name property in this account entity is not nullable, that should coincide with what's on the database that says name is not nullable. And so I'll see that even if I have the equals default not there. I just don't like seeing the green squigglies. So yeah, my service layer, and then of course, as I've mentioned before, you could use something like AutoMapper to do the mapping between your database entity and your view model, and the Visual Studio Editor will give you the markup. So giving a dummy default value can get a bit expensive, but we're never getting the default value back. We're never even setting default value if we're doing it right. So first of all, these DB sets are getting overwritten. These properties are getting overwritten by DB context for SQL specifically. And then for example, the name property here is getting set when I'm initializing a new account or retrieving account from the database. So this equals default never happens. You could set a non-default value to be safe, but it's discarded immediately. But I don't want that. I want this to give me an exception if I don't set name. That's the main thing, is I want to write the code in such a way that if I forget to do something like set name when I'm creating a new account record, I want an exception while I'm trying to debug. That way in my code, I'm sure that I am covering every case so that name is populated or all of the required fields are populated. And then I don't have to worry about that at runtime in a deployed app. That's the whole point behind nullability. Or one of the points. I can't say the whole point, because another point is making sure that if you declare something as not nullable, then that means you're not going to get a null reference exception. And if you declare something as nullable, then you are going to get green squigglies and editor markup that says you haven't checked for null on this object. And you'll be able to catch null reference exceptions much faster. So you're not spending all of your time debugging null reference exceptions. One of the top exceptions for developers. And Goku Jax is here. Hello, Goku Jax. Yeah, so let us know if you have any other questions, Ladrixius. And Boxy Bear, definitely feel free to keep commenting. I like your conversation. I like your points. And I hope that it doesn't feel like I'm just shooting down your points, because you're making very valid points. Like, I don't know for sure if setting this equal to default and just creating a new account record before even populating any of the properties is going to be too expensive, giving me a default bang string. Because this should just give me null string. So that means that I'm not actually instantiating anything, or I'm not creating any memory allocations by using default here. But if I'm doing something like my DB set here and doing default, then that's going to give me a default of DB set of account, which could prove to be the entire setup of a DB set of account. Maybe. But I don't think it does. I think this would still be null of DB set of account. So again, no memory allocations here either. It's just when you try to do an accounts dot, that's when it's going to be like, you can't dot off of this. And actually, it's going to say null bang is null. So yeah, so default for null reference types is always null. So I don't think you have to worry about that performance hit. Maybe. And again, that's just off of what we know about data types and the C# language, which I could be completely wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong. Okay. I qualify all of my statements with, as far as I understand it. We'll create this later. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and create the migration for moving the line item details, or the transaction details, to payments. And I'll call it, first I need to make sure we're targeting the right project for the migration. Moved trans debt to payment debt. No. Oh, of course. Yes. So it's not going to build. It's just weird that it's not going to build my my migration project. That's the only one that needs to build in order for this to work. But because I didn't update this to be in my payment record, which is just going to be here, which is gonna take some work. It's like, hey, I can't do the migration because your build is failing. Like your mom is failing. That's twice in 2 weeks. But the Zeman is here. Hello, Zeman. And it looks like the Zeman knows the Boxy Bear. Oh, I gotta sneeze. That was weird. Normally when I sneeze, I have to sneeze like 16 times in a row, but I only sneezed once that time. Is something wrong with me? Am I broken? Um, no way. That does not feel like that was 2 hours. That absolutely does not feel like it was 2 hours. Oh, yeah, so that was supposed to be there. I was just one. How many more? Okay, so we should be able to finish this, but I have to get back to work pretty quickly. Um, oh, that's why I wanted the possibility of. Damn it. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. So apparently, I gave myself the option with having the transaction details in a deposit to have something like net pay and how much you pay for Medicare and all of the other payroll deductions that happen from your paycheck. Oh man, and now I only have a regular amount. Crap. Crap. And Boxy Bear was like, Z-Man, I didn't even recognize you. My bad. Nice seeing you here. And then he put the everything is fine, but with the same doggo. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Who is D Viper? I'm gonna need to go and figure out if I can get their emotes. Those are awesome. I'm not even a dog person, but I love those types of dogs. A GTA speedrunner. Those are awesome emotes. I wish I had better ones. I just haven't taken the time to make them. Something about, working all day. Okay, so this is where the fun happens. We are going to x dot um this is where the hard part comes in. So if this is a payment, then x dot payment dot payment details dot sum amount, else, oh, that's not how I normally write these. Else if x dot is deposit, I kind of like doing it this way now that I'll make up my mind one day. If x is a deposit, then we need to add x dot amount, x dot deposit dot amount. And I will go ahead and put a question mark on these. Else x dot transfer amount. And if all of these happen to end up, or if this happens to end up being null, then we'll default to 0. So I'm still getting the full sum of the transaction, depending on if the transaction is a payment, a deposit, or a transfer. And if it's a payment, then I'm going to sum up the payment details. Simple. Have I considered a property for the type like an enum instead of checking each one individually? So again, well, I mean, yes, I could do that. But the way that I check each of them is, well, yeah, that's a good idea. So that would look like public transaction type. And then this could be an enum, which I'll declare somewhere else. So I'm just going to run through this really quick because I do think it's a good idea. And then that will be if deposit is not null, then, oh, once again, do it like this. Then transaction type dot deposit, or transaction type is going to be my enum. Else if payment is not null, then transaction type dot payment, else default to transaction type dot transfer, for example. And that would definitely make it a lot easier to do a switch on this, and also in the future to add new types. So if I have like a, I don't know, bond, so I have a bond investment that I added a new bond to my transactions list, and then that bond matures over time, then I would have some kind of, I don't know what I would call it, maturity thing for that bond account. So a new account type of bond and a transaction type of mature to X amount of years. And then kind of record a history of that. I don't know. That's a good idea though. So this will go in a different file or a different class. Well, same thing. But for now, we'll just do deposit payment transfer. And then we can switch these out. So I like that. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'll just remind myself to do switch out the 3 bools with this enum. So I'm not going to push the migration yet. I'm moving transaction details to payment details. But we'll do that in tomorrow's stream. I will be back. So tomorrow's a weird day. Well, I have no idea anymore. Normally, before the work stoppage, I had a standing meeting for Tuesdays. Oh, that's why. A standing meeting for Tuesdays that made me move my streams to 12:30 or 1:30 my time. But that meeting was canceled. Move. No, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know if that meeting is canceled or not. So I'm going to have to find out tomorrow. So here's what we'll plan on. Plan on the stream happening at 1:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And right now it is 6:35 UTC. 12:35 Mountain Daylight Time. So an hour from now tomorrow is when we'll plan on me streaming. If I find out that the meeting is canceled for Tuesdays and moved to Wednesdays, then we'll switch the days. But we're gonna play it by ear this week. Find out when everything is gonna happen. My videos are posted to YouTube, as I mentioned before, 24 hours after the stream because they need to stay exclusive to Twitch for 24 hours. And what else? We have our Discord community that I told you guys about, where we have a bunch of really, really cool people. You can ask for help there. You can complain about whatever you feel like complaining about. I have a rant channel, and you don't have to feel like someone is going to be like, well, so-and-so has it worse than you, or I have it worse than you, or have you tried this understanding? Maybe think of it from their shoes. No. If you want to complain, complain there. You're allowed to complain every now and then. I just would ask that you complain about situations and not people. That's my only request. And of course, be considerate of your target audience. If you even have a target audience. If you don't have a target audience, then don't be considerate. Rant, vent. But yeah. We also have show-off channels, show-off projects that you have. We also oh, thank you so much, the Boxy Bear, for the follow. We also have ask for help channels, various types, and you can also offer help. So if you are feeling comfortable and experienced enough, then you can answer people's questions that come up while you are there. Other than that, and it's like a more friendly and inviting Stack Overflow. I just ask that you don't berate people for asking noob questions because noob questions are very, very welcome. I will always consider myself a noob. So, noob friendly. And we're all just really cool with each other. So, this community is the best community. Please over into Irish John Games. Check him out. He streams just about daily, if not daily. Irish John Games. Shoot out. He rated Bit Gaming. He streamed earlier today just to be able to raid Bit Gaming. Another fantastic. Like all of our communities are intertwined. So they are both Unity developers. They work on games. There is also Captain Commerce, who will probably be streaming tonight if he is able to. Captain Commerce, which I think I just have Captain to have his schedule. Also, while I'm on the subject of Irish John Games, check out his game Rise of Piracy coming out on Steam pretty close to the end of this year in early access. So his game looks really, really nice. Another game developer is Simple Game Dev, who has Artificial on Steam. Artificial. I know how to spell, but that is Simple Game Dev. Science Streams is another fantastic streamer. He does science streaming, usually centered around bugs, arachnids, and other other things of that nature. I'm sure I'm missing like 80 people, but those are all the people I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are more. Simple Game Dev is really a relative name. I know simple and artificial is beyond that. I agree. Artificial, and that's funny. Thank you, Stream Elements. Artificial, he says, is just like, these low poly assets that he just puts together in Unity, creates some prefabs, throws them in the scene. But if you see the actual game, oh my gosh, it looks so good. The mechanics are cool. The voicing, even though I think it's all like placeholder voices. Maybe he already has the finalized version of the voices, but yeah, it's so good. It looks really, really well done, in my opinion. But anyway, that's going to be it for my time. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will be heading back to work for the rest of my day after I grab a snack. So until the next time you show up, I will see you later. Ciao for now. Bye-bye. Later, Scott. Later, Abydus.